GardenBasix Self Watering Planter Review.
G'day folks, Greg here from Small Space Produce, and today we wanted to do a quick review on some self-watering planters that I've purchased. I had a bit of a hunt around. The aim for me was to look at some suitable planters that will sit on the windowsill in our kitchen so we can grow a nice little variety of things. And look, what I've gone for here in my thought process is, rather than try to sort of grow lots of produce, is rather to create something that looks quite nice that you can just pick at here and there when you need something. So I'm going to get quite ambitious here with the stuff I want to grow. So I've got some capsicums here, I've got some lettuce, of course, is great, some tomatoes, which I think is rather bold, I must say, even if I say so myself, some spring onions, some spinach, a few other things there as well. But instead of sort of just going for one thing, I want to make it look quite nice and nice and ornamental, so when I just want to grab a little bit of something, I can just have a little pick and use it fresh. So for example, a little bit of rocket, popping a little bit of that in a sandwich, hopefully a tomato for the sandwich. There's a bit of basil there, which I think we'll put around the outsides that we might use for a little bit of cooking, bit of spice on top, and of course, if we manage to get things like a tomato growing, it will just look absolutely fantastic. But I am quietly confident. So of course, growing something like that in a small pot, it isn't going to get massive, and we may need to sort of trim it and shape it a little bit and keep it at size, but certainly we're up for the challenge. So if you wanted to play it really safe, rather than trying to grow bigger things that you normally grow in a bigger pot, you can certainly just use the smaller things, and heaps of stuff will grow in planters this size. So let's go over the planters that we chose. Look, these are the GardenBasix Self Watering Planters. We'll put some links in the comments and also in the description. So if you would like to purchase some of these yourself, then you can certainly click on those links and go ahead. And of course, if you do purchase them through our YouTube channel or our website, we do get a small commission, and we super appreciate that. While you're having a little look down there too, we'd love you to give us a bit of a subscribe, so that way you can keep up with any other reviews or just general advice on growing food in small spaces and innovative ways to do that. So let's have a little look at the pots. There's basically three colours, and look, I've gone for all three because I wanted to see what they looked like, but obviously people will have different preferences when it comes to colour, but of course there's also a couple of different shapes, as you can see here. So there's these circular ones here, and there's these rectangular ones. All of them do come with a bit of wicking cloth in there, so that way once you've got some water in there and your plant growing in there, the wicking cloth just sits in that water and just helps to suck some of that water up, so the soil can take that on without getting waterlogged. Now you can also buy them in packs where it's just the rectangular ones or just the circular ones, for example, but I wanted to give all of them a bit of a try, so I've gone for the Rainbow Merry mix-up. So let's have a look at them individually. The small little circular one, so it's not a huge size, but to be honest, it's ample to grow quite a few things. I like the shape of the holes. They're not too big, so all the dirt's going to fall through. I think a lot of people will put sort of clay pebbles and things in the bottom of a self-watering pot, but for me that just takes up valuable real estate, so I rather go just a really nice, well-draining, good quality potting mix in there is certainly my preference. So they all have the reservoir hole there as well, so you can fill up that pot nice and easily inside without making too much of a mess. And this one's got quite a nice deep lip. Quite often we see those little holes that you're meant to pour the water into are quite small, and it's really easy to spill everywhere. So I really like the shape of those, and I really like the way that they just sit inside really nice and snugly. And they do also have the water indicator here, so you can see how much water is in the reservoir, so you know when to fill it up. And having a look at the rectangular pot, look, obviously a lot more depth in there, a lot more size. You've got a double sort of wicking system there, and again I really like the shape of the holes. Again, we have the water indicator too, so we can see how much is in there, and I must say it's quite a generous reservoir of water, and I'm a big fan of that. So if you are going away for a handful of days, you can just fill that reservoir up and away you go. They're going to be absolutely fine without you there and can tend to themselves. Now the other thing I think that's probably worthy of mention with these is they are quite nice and light, but they don't sort of look look too tacky. Some of these look really tacky, but there's just something about them I find quite attractive, and I think they're going to look really good on our little windowsill. So obviously we need to think a little bit about going to plant in which pot, and as I said, I am being a bit ambitious here, so I'm going to have a bit of a play, get these planted out, see how the soil sits in there, and then I will come back to you and show you the results. Alright, so here we are. We've given them all their bit of soil and planted them out, and to be honest, I'm really happy with how they've come out. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going for quite ambitious here, so trying to do something just a little bit different, and I'm going for sort of a look where it's just like a pot full of a bit of life and different shapes. So I think it's going to look fantastic, and while we'll certainly get some produce off that as well, which I think is what gives it a really unique touch, the hope is that we're going to have something really different to look at on the windowsill as well. So the way I've planted them out is like these ones have got some dwarf variety tomato in the middle, so they should do really well in here, with just some basil and some spinach on either side, just to sort of create a second layer, a bit of depth and a bit of greenery. Then this one here, we've gone for a couple of icebergs on either side with some rocket in the middle that will sort of try to get a bit taller, so it just gives again a bit of a different shape. Some spring onions in this little guy here, and again they just give a more grassy look, and of course they'll be delicious to add to any meal as we go. In here we've gone for a cos lettuce, just a mini cos lettuce again to get a little bit of a different shape, and the capsicum I think will be the real beauty here. If we can get a bit of a tree-like shape and a little bit of colour as well, that should be fantastic. So look, all in all, whether you want to get these and just plant one thing in each, or you want to do something a bit different and create a bit of a look for inside on your windowsill, these will certainly do the job. And as far as the pots go, I'm certainly really happy with them. As I mentioned, they're nice and sturdy. I like the way they're put together. Great reservoir. They hold the soil really well. And look, I certainly recommend them. I'm really happy with the purchase of those. So thanks for joining us again today, folks. I hope you all strive to get yourself a windowsill salad. This is Greg from Small Space Produce, and this has been a GardenBasix Self Watering Planter review.